Hello everyone. Today we're making ox tripe curry with chickpeas. And I'm going to start from the very beginning. So I will get the preparations for the 5 bowls and preparing the ox tripe, and you can have a look at it before it actually goes into the pressure cooker for 40 minutes. Hi, so my tripe has been cut into squares. Try and not make them too small because they tend to shrink after boiling. And there's 2 teaspoons of ginger and garlic in here, 4 pieces of cinnamon stick, 4 pieces of clove, a teaspoon of salt. I'm now going to put it into the pressure cooker, and I will show you how much water needs to be in it before we start the boiling process. So as you can see that I've just covered the top of the tripe in the pressure cooker. And I'm going to set it on, what does this say? Meat for 40 minutes, and I'm going to put the speed on 3. When it's done, I will use this water to cook my curry with, but we'll get there soon. So there's the ox tripe boiled. As you can see, it shrinks a bit, so it's now the texture of raw lamb. I've added another teaspoon of coarse salt, 2 teaspoons of ginger and garlic. My bowl 1. My onions finely chopped. I've doubled up on the cinnamon stick, so there's 4 cinnamon stick. I even added a star anise seed. There's 4 clove, few curry leaves, about 5 or 10, and the chilies, 3 just slit down the middle, not completely through. And just as for the 5 bowls to a lamb curry, I'm waiting for my pot to heat up. Just the bottom of the pan covered with oil. I'm using a cast iron. And bowl 1, bowl 2, the masala. I ran out of my base masala, so I've made my own creation. I've used mother-in-law masala as a base, so I think this is going to be quite spicy. That's why only 3 chilies here. Bowl 3, my ox tripe. Bowl 4, my tomatoes. And bowl 5, the chickpeas. I've taken some of the water out with which I boil the ox tripe, and I'm going to use this to cook my curry. So the oil is hot enough. It's on 6. I'm going to braise the onions a bit. I'm going to turn it down to number 3. The cast iron pot, so it actually keeps a lot of the heat in. And we'll be back when the onions are ready for bowl 2. So the onions are nearly ready for bowl number 2. Please remember our stoves are different, so I had to actually put it up in the last minute to number 4 just to get it a bit going a bit, because the cast iron pot, once it gets heat it retains it, but if it gets too cool then it cools down quickly too. I'm going to actually reduce my heat to 3 again and put in bowl number 2, which is the masalas. Okay, and give it a good cook. So that it's all coated in the oil. It's actually quite challenging doing this with one hand. Now for the ox tripe, ginger and garlic and salt. So you see, like the lamb curry, there wasn't any water in this. I am actually going to add some of that water from the boiling process. It's not as red as I would like it. To make my own little masala mixture here. So I'm going to add a little water now. Always on the side. I'm going to leave this for about 10 minutes before the tomato goes in. As you see, by putting in the water, the heat has reduced. I can actually bring this up to number 4 for 2 minutes and then lower again to 3, which I will do. So it's been on number 4 for about 2 minutes. I'm lowering it to number 3. Just give it a quick look to see if it's not sticking since you added the water. Looks good. Close the lid and let it cook for 10 minutes. So it's 5 minutes into the cooking time. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't sticking because of this pot. If you're concerned that it is sticking, you can add a little bit more water to it. I could just a tad on the side and cover it for the next 5 minutes before the tomatoes have to go in. So it's been 5 minutes from the last time we looked. It's time for the tomatoes. Just 1 tomato, 1 large onion was used. Give it a stir. I don't like opening my pot often, so what I'm going to do is add a little bit more water. And check on this in about 15 minutes. So we're 15 minutes into the curry after the tomatoes were added. Just going to give it a stir to see whether it's sticking. Seems to be fine. Remember, this is now the texture of lamb. So we're going to cook it for another 30 minutes before we add the chickpeas. So we're 15 minutes into this. I'm just checking to see whether everything's fine and it's not sticking. Seems to be good. Check the texture. And yeah, we can actually leave it to cook a little bit more. I would leave it for another 15 minutes and then put the chickpeas. So the oil has come up, as you see. For me, I'm going to actually just check a piece to see whether it's tender enough to add the chickpeas. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so the tripe is quite tender. For me, it's time for the chickpeas, straight from the can. You can add potatoes to this if you want, but if you're going to have it with a roti, this is perfect. And even though the chickpeas is from a can, it also needs to absorb the flavors. And when I tasted this, there was a little bit of lack of salt, so you can add some now. Fine salt. And add a little bit more water because you're going to leave it to cook. Whoops, sorry, camera. For about another, I would leave it for another 20 minutes just so that it's nice and tender. So I forgot about this on 4. and I've just brought it down to 3. This is 15 minutes into my 30 minutes I said, but it's looking good, not sticking, there's enough gravy, and I think the chickpea still needs to cook a little bit more. So I've reduced the heat. I'm a bit distracted today. So it actually spent 15 minutes on number 4. So remember, our stoves are different. My 4 is very quick, and this is a cast iron pot. So I've reduced the heat to 3 now, and I'm going to leave it for 15 minutes further. So the curry is now done. You can see the glossy look, the oil is up. I'm putting everything off, and I am going to put some coriander from not my garden this time. We haven't had rain for days. It's from my freezer, but you can see it looks perfect. It tastes divine. I had a taste, and that is your ox tripe curry. I hope you enjoy. Bye.